I've picked 16 of the coolest crab restaurants in all of Maryland, and over the next few videos, I'm going to be checking them out and taking you along on the ride with me. My goal is for each of the 16 restaurants to be in different counties of Maryland, and I'm going to base my rankings based on the crab seasoning, the feel of the restaurant, and of course, the price and service. So far, I've been to 2 restaurants, one in St. Mary's County and one in Charles County, and Seabreeze in St. Mary's County is currently number 1. Let's go ahead and get started. The first place today is a good drive away from where I live in St. Mary's County, but it's actually pretty close to where I grew up as a kid. It's located in Annapolis, Maryland, right on the water, and it's going to be Canlers Riverside Inn. Okay, our first stop today is going to be Canlers. Now, Canlers is an Annapolis institution, and I grew up in Annapolis, but honestly, I've never been here. So I'm excited to go ahead, give it a try, and let you guys know what I think. Walking up, the restaurant is pretty modest. It's not a huge restaurant inside, and the outdoor seating is not all that big as well. The menu itself is pretty simple, which honestly I kind of like, and outside was a cool vibe. There were a bunch of picnic tables, and they're actually communal picnic tables. I decided to go walk around, find the hand washing sink, and check out the waterfront. Down here was really neat. The docks were well maintained, and I think one of the coolest things was the fact that they had shed tanks for soft shell crabs. I haven't seen this at any of the other restaurants, and it's just a really cool reminder that a lot of the food that you're eating at Cantlers is coming right from the water of the Chesapeake Bay. Within a few minutes of ordering, they already had my drink out and the utensils I was going to use for crabs, and out of all the places so far, they're the only ones that had a proper knife. Now, if you're looking for a crab knife for your crab feast, you can of course go to buythewaterstore.com, and you can buy the crab knives that I use in my videos, and also check out a bunch of oyster ranking videos and other stuff like that. These crab knives right here are the best in the business, and I highly recommend getting them to make eating crabs a lot easier. Now, they also gave me a bucket for my scraps, and after a few minutes, my crabs are out. Now, I got the supers, and they were actually really big. They were well over 6 inches, and they looked pretty well seasoned. Now, one of the most reliable ways to know if someone cooked a crab well is to do a claw test. And to do the claw test, basically you just need to break open the claw, and if the meat pulls cleanly out of the shell, you know it was well cooked. This one did that, and honestly, this was the best claw that I've had so far in this series. After a little bit of work, it was time to taste the body meat of the crab. I dipped it in some apple cider vinegar and some JO seasoning, and it was absolutely delicious. These crabs were packed full of meat, but I'm not sure if they were actually worth the price that I'm going to show you later on. Don't forget too, when you get nice, full, heavy crabs like this one, you can scrape out the points and almost get little pieces of soft shell crab as a nice little treat. And as far as price, these supers were $90 for 6 crabs. All right, and so that was my Cantlers experience, and I gotta say, despite the prices, I mean, that $180 a dozen for the super colossal or the big ones like they said was a little outrageous, but I'm actually going to put Cantlers at number 1. And here are the reasons. 1, the crabs were absolutely delicious, packed and fresh. Also, I love the atmosphere of the whole place. And also, their crab seasoning was really good. The other thing that I would say is I wish they would give you a little bit more crab seasoning to kind of dip in as you're eating. But overall, I really like Cantlers, and it's gonna be my new number 1. The next restaurant was about a 40-minute drive from Annapolis, and as I drove, I got more and more urban because I was headed towards Baltimore to go to Nick's Fish House. Okay, my next spot is an institution right here in Baltimore, and it's gonna be Nick's Fish House. Now, it's known for a lot of different seafood, but crabs are what it's known best for. Let's go ahead and go check it out and see how it stacks up against the rest. As I got out of the truck, the first thing I noticed was this doesn't feel like your typical crab house experience. To me, I like it to feel a little more either rural or suburban, and this was urban. I will say the parking was super easy, and the outside of the restaurant and the inside of the restaurant were super cool. This had the most detailed menu out of any of the places I've been so far, and of course, since you're in Baltimore, it's got some natty bows as well. On each table, they had their own seasoning as well as some Old Bay seasoning. And as I looked around, I decided I really liked the atmosphere of the inside. While the outside felt really urban, the inside did feel like a crab house. As far as utensils, we got the standard blue crab picking knife and of course one of the hammers and a bucket to put all your scraps. Now they did give you fresh naps as well to clean up after you're done eating. Now these crabs were the absolute hottest crabs that I've had so far, and when I went ahead and opened up the shell, this is what happened. Based on how hot they were, these crabs were definitely steamed to order and not reheated, and it was time to give it a taste. These were actually really good. I don't know if they were as good as the Canlers ones, but they were definitely right up there near the top. And as far as price, these ones were a little bit cheaper than Canlers, but they were still $70 for 6 crabs. All right, so Nick's was a tough one for me. I like a more country, rural feel to a crab restaurant, and this is pretty much in Baltimore. There's a lot of construction noise going around, road noise, and there's just a bunch of things happening. So the location and the vibe for me is not my favorite, but it's not a bad place. Now inside it does look pretty cool, and I actually liked all the different decorations and stuff like that. The service was great, and honestly, the crabs were absolutely delicious. Like, for that reason, if you're in the Baltimore area and you want some crabs, you can't beat this place. But I just can't put it above Cantlers. I'm gonna say Nick's Fish House in Baltimore is gonna be moved to number 2. And before going to the last restaurant, I made a little side quest. This is a marina that some of you may be familiar with. I went to go pick up this $900 Amazon boat and saw a boat named Weibo and the FV Southern Girl, and I promise I'll show you guys what to do with this boat soon. And after picking that up, it was off to my last stop in Chesapeake Beach, Maryland. Okay, and so the last stop of the day is going to be Abnners in Chesapeake Beach. Now, this is a totally different vibe than the other places I've been, and right next to it is actually like a casino game room, which is pretty crazy. Looking around, there's a marina, there's some townhouses and stuff like that. Let's go ahead and go inside and see what Abnners is all about. The outside of Abnners doesn't give the typical, crab house vibe, and the inside doesn't either, but the back deck was on the water, and it seemed like a pretty good spot to sit out there and eat. Unfortunately, it looked like it was going to rain when I was there, so I had to eat inside, but I did see some crabs on the piling before I headed back in. When I got back to the table, the crabs were already there waiting for me, and while there was some seasoning, they weren't really seasoned well. Now, of course, I had to tell you what I got with these crabs. I got a crab knocker, I got a butter knife, I got some clarified butter, and a little bit of seasoning as well. Let's go ahead and give these crabs a try. The crabs were definitely hot and they tasted pretty fresh, but they were on the lighter side compared to the other crabs that I've had today. That being said, they were actually still really good. The claws were delicious, and at $45 for 6 crabs, it was by far the cheapest crabs that I've had so far today. Okay, so I just finished up at Abnners, and I gotta say, it actually was a nice little restaurant. The crabs were fresh, they were a good size, and they were pretty cheap compared to the other ones I've had today. Instead of the $70 or even $90 a half dozen, they were $45 for a half dozen large male crabs, which isn't horrible so far in this series. But to me, it missed a little bit of that classic crab house feel, and definitely is geared more towards the tourists that come to Chesapeake Beach and North Beach to see the Rod and Reel Casino and even to gamble next door. And when I look back at all the rankings, I don't think I can rank it first or second, because while they were more expensive, I did like the other crabs better at, say, Canlers and at Nick's Riverside. And I can't put it past Seabreeze because I just like the old time feel Seabreeze has. It just didn't have the same feel that I look for in it. But overall, it was actually a really great restaurant. The service was amazing, the people were really kind, and the food came out super quick. The crabs were hot, fresh, and I really like the seasoning as well. And for right now, this is going to be number 4 out of the 16 coolest crab restaurants in all of Maryland.